Hey everyone, this video is for Small Business Chapter 8. Just once again, going to do a quick summary of the chapter. Before I start though, I've mentioned in emails and stuff, but as far as the small business plans go, you can just send me drafts. I'm not going to be picky about the submission dates. Just send me portion drafts and I can give you feedback so that you have them before you complete the whole business plan and submit that on or before May 18th. I made portals on Moodle to submit them, but I'd probably prefer if you just send them by email because then I get notification right away. It doesn't seem like I get any type of notification on Moodle. Yeah, I'm going to keep making videos for the remaining chapters, so keep an eye on the YouTube channel. You can subscribe if you want, but I'll share the screen here. So Small Business Chapter 8 is continuing with marketing stuff, the marketing mix. So we're looking at managing the marketing mix. So the role of marketing mix in the small business should create value and long-term relationships with target customers and distinguish a business from its competitors. Pretty straightforward stuff. Main reasons for advertising and marketing. So developing the product or service to start out with when you're starting a business before you start your marketing mix and advertising campaigns or whatever. You want to develop what it is you're selling, whether that's product or service or both. From there, come up with policies. So the quality of your product or service, the depth, services offered, branding, warranties, things like that. So what comes along with that you're selling. Second part there is decide how the product will be manufactured. A lot of different options for that, whether that's in your province, in your country, overseas, in-house, outsourcing it, whatever. A lot of different questions to be asked there. Understand the product life cycle. So how long, you can look at that from two angles. The first one is how long is that product itself going to last? Like if it's a refrigerator that you're selling, are those have a lifespan of 12 years or 8 years or 20 years or whatever? But also in terms of obsolescence, especially with technology, like how long will those things no longer be useful? Because you might have things like cassette tape players or VCRs or gaming consoles that still work. They might have a useful life of 40 years, but people aren't really using them anymore because VHS video players are just obsolete now. So that's another thing to consider when looking at the product life cycle. And then the fourth one there, determine factors that may accelerate product or service adoption. So that means getting people to adopt your product or service. Finding ways to make that quicker. And we'll cover that a little bit more in the chapter coming up here. Product life cycle, introduction, growth, maturity, decline. And again, this would depend so much on the type of product. Like this would be maybe pretty standard, but there are some products like I don't know, certain food products that kind of last forever. People are still buying bread or whatever. Whereas other products kind of come and go pretty quickly, especially with certain fads, like certain types of clothing or games or whatever it might be. Developing the product or service. So determine factors that may accelerate product or service adoption. So that's what I just alluded to a little bit earlier there. Things like having a relative advantage. If you want your product or service to be embraced by the public more and increase your sales quickly, you're going to want to have a relative advantage. So an advantage compared to other products and services, compared to other companies, something that's going to make you stand out. Complexity. You don't usually want it to be too complex. I think people can be turned off by new products or services that seem too complex. It can be intimidating to them and they'll be afraid to adopt it. The visibility, meaning can you get it in smaller portions? So if you come up with a new type of food product, can they buy like small sample sizes? They're not taking much risk if they can just buy like spend $1 or a couple dollars to sample it. Whereas if it's some type of product like a new type of car, like a Tesla, where in order to really adopt that, you might have to spend $50,000 or $60,000, and it's not really divisible. That might take longer for the masses to adopt compared to like a new flavor of gum or something where they can just buy one package for $1, and if they don't like it, it's no big deal. If you buy a $60,000 Tesla car and you don't like it, it's a big deal. Communicability of results, meaning can you communicate the results easily? So, some things it's harder to test results. Other products and services, it's a little bit easier. And if it's easy to recognize and communicate results, there's going to be more word of mouth, and people are going to be more likely to adopt your product or service quickly. Developing the product or service, so understanding how the customer classifies product or service, convenience products, shopping products, and specialty products. So convenience products are things that are just bought with minimal effort, most food items or clothing or whatever. Shopping products, products where there's a little more comparison made. So if you're buying something a little more expensive like a car or a television, you might shop around a little bit and compare different brands and different stores. Specialty products require more effort and loyalty. So that could too be cars. Certain people become loyal to brands. Like my family is kind of a Honda family in some ways. We've had a lot of Hondas and we're pretty loyal to them. And a car is something that usually requires more effort for buying. Next thing is developing the distribution system. So once you have your products and services, how are you going to distribute them? Is that with your channels here starting out, is that manufacturer to customer? That would be short and direct channel. So right from the manufacturer to the customer with no people in between. Or manufacturer to a wholesaler to retail to customer, and that's a longer direct channel. And that's pretty common, especially with something like food. You'll have the farmer who's selling it to the wholesaler who's selling it to the retailer who's then selling it to the customer. It's not direct from the farmer to the consumer for most like grocery stores. Although sometimes with like a farmer's market, that would be an example of the first one where it's the manufacturer or the producer directly to the customer. But if you're going to Walmart and buying Kraft peanut butter, it's a little bit longer distribution channel. Channel length, so just meaning how many steps are involved there, how many agents are involved in the distribution. That's on page 315. There's a little bit of a breakdown there. You can read that over for more information. Channel intensity, so like how many distributors are within a given region. Multi-level marketing, I'm sure most people are familiar with that. That's pretty common these days, especially with things like makeup like Avon, or different types of food supplements or jewelry or things like that, where you have a bigger company, and rather than them just doing all the advertising themselves, they get different levels of marketing where individuals go out and market for them, and in order for them to be compensated for their marketing, they're just getting paid a commission or whatever. Next thing is looking at methods of setting price. So once you have all that previous stuff lined up, distribution methods and policies, want to figure out how to price your product or service. And there's a few different methods to that. And this can be true for many different products and services. Cost-based pricing. So once the cost is determined, percentage markup is added to reflect the profit objective of the firm. So for example, if you are making t-shirts or something, and once you figure out how much it costs to make, you need to buy the material, you need to hire someone for the labor to put it together. Maybe you're renting a space to manufacture the t-shirts. You might find out on average it's costing you $12 per t-shirt to make. So you could determine that you need to sell it for at least $12 in order to break even. That would be basing your prices from a cost-based method. Same thing with like housing. Often housing developers, if they're building you a house, they're going to look at how much it costs them to make it and then do a little bit of markup there. Another option would be demand-based pricing. What are people willing to pay, regardless of how much it costs you to make? If it only costs you $12 to make a t-shirt, but people are willing to pay $30, charge $30. Like, why not? I guess it depends on the situation, but that's more demand-based pricing. What is the market demanding? Competition-based pricing. So that would be pricing based on what competitors are. So if you're starting a t-shirt company or a pizza restaurant, maybe it only costs you $6 to make a pizza, and people are willing to pay $25. But if all your competitors are selling pizzas for $18, you're going to have a hard time selling for $25 if they can get a similar pizza for $18. So you might want to set your prices in that type of industry based on competitors, unless you have some type of clear competitive advantage. Next is value-based pricing. So price reflects the value of the entire purchasing experience. So that's just where it's kind of like demand-based pricing. It's how much are people willing to pay for it? How much do they think it's worth? Like, regardless of how much it costs you to make, or what market prices are. Sometimes people just perceive things as having more value. So you maybe want to do like a survey to figure out what the public, what customers feel it's worth based on the value they're getting. Some steps in promotional campaign. Again, this is another one of those examples where there's no universal method, but this is a pretty comprehensive breakdown of ways to have a promotional campaign for products or services. I can let you read through that on your own. So types of promotion, pretty obvious here, like things like advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, traditional promotional methods. Advertising, a non-personal form of promotion directed at the mass audience, which is changing these days. Television, radio, newspapers, magazines, billboards, the internet, and direct mail. As far as like radio and television, yeah, that's still non-personal, directed to the masses. But with the internet now and social media and stuff, advertising is getting a little bit more personal and directed. Right, we've talked about that quite a bit in this class and other classes as well, where they can break down their demographics a little bit better and target them a little bit more specifically. Sales promotions, same kind of thing, where it's just more so promoting sales of products. Personal selling, so that's like individual kind of one-on-one salesperson to the customer. Traditional promotion methods, direct mail becoming less common, telephone directories, newspapers, magazines, radio, television. So yeah, those are pretty obvious ones that are still common today. Although I would say they're probably dying out a little bit, especially television and newspapers and magazines still exist, but less and less promotion through those methods. Next thing is non-traditional promotional methods. That's pursuing traditional business goals of sales and profits through non-conventional means. Things like guerrilla marketing, you've probably heard that term before. Development of creative, catchy, and low-cost methods to attract attention and grow sales. And public relations is defined as generating positive awareness for your company. So with like guerrilla marketing or this unconventional, non-traditional promotional methods, there's a breakdown in your textbook. Could be things like just having contests or raffles, artists hanging paintings or photographs in doctors' offices, sticky notes posted where people can see them, free samples, public demonstrations, people wearing or using company products. So there can be all types of like, I don't know what the word would be, flash mob here in your textbook. Like, you know, there might be some type of flash mob to promote some new shopping center or whatever. So it's kind of gimmicky, I guess is the word I was looking for, and non-traditional. And it could be a cheap way of getting attention. Yeah. So I recommend just getting a little more detail from the textbook. I want to keep these videos short. Next thing is internet marketing, which is becoming huge, and there's many forms of that. Web pages, obviously most companies, especially bigger companies, have their own web pages. SEO, search engine optimization, so you're using Google or Bing or whatever to find some things you want. Online newsletters, direct email to customers, banner advertisements, affiliate programs. I think affiliate programs are great and pretty useful. I've talked about those already, where that's kind of like multi-level marketing, where you get other people to promote for you and they just get a commission if they make any sales for you. So it's kind of a win-win situation there. You don't have to pay anything for advertising unless you're actually making sales and other people are doing the work for you. Online classifieds, online auction sites, gamification, online games, podcasts, webinars. So there's a ton of different online ways of marketing, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with them and have seen a lot of them. Internet marketing continued, photo sharing sites like Pinterest, Instagram, and Flickr, video sharing sites, YouTube and Vine. Instagram is, you know, now more also including videos and stuff. Mobile marketing, apps or applications, text message, QR codes. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with QR codes. I should have shown a picture, but that's kind of like a square barcode, but a little bit different, where you can like scan that with your phone. Different apps allow you to scan that, so you might see advertisements with that where you can scan and get more information on the ad. Social networking, you know, things like Facebook, LinkedIn, Foursquare, Tumblr, Twitter, online blogs. Another form of promotion which is becoming more and more common. I don't think I need to discuss that too much. Pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah, so that's it for the chapter. Pretty short, and I wanted to keep it short. But yeah, as always, reach out if there's any questions on the assignments or if you want more explanation on the chapter. And yeah, thanks for watching.